Morning.
Good morning.
Our theme this month is stewardship. I love our planet. Today, the topic is recognizing the sacred. Sandra Ingerman, who practices healing the earth through shamanism, wrote in her book, Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth, the ultimate teaching is, it is who we become that changes the world and not what we do. The part of us that is becoming involves remembering that we are spiritual beings whose destiny is to radiate light and channel unconditional love. We came here to learn about the power of love and to create from love. The part that we are doing involves how we walk on this earth as conscious beings. We must be conscious of every action, thought, and word. Our outer world is a reflection of our inner state. Ernest Holmes once wrote, "Change your thinking, change your life." Let us consciously choose our thoughts, words, and actions here and now with the affirmation of love for Mother Earth. I recognize that Mother Earth is a sacred creation of God. It is our common home. Therefore, I let go of apathy, overconsumption, and other attitudes that harm the planet. I choose thoughts, words, and actions that lead to ecological renewal and sustainability.
The ultimate teaching. It is who we become, not what we do, that truly makes the difference and that truly changes our world. This is the essence of our teaching, isn't it? Our inner work is reflected in our outer world. And we offer here just amazing spiritual practices and principles that guide us on that path of transforming, actually restoring ourselves back to our truth and our reality, which is that we are already whole, perfect, and complete beings of light and love. That is our truth. And so all spiritual work restores us back to that truth, actually removes the layers that do not serve us. And so this entire month is dedicated to becoming that presence that is in love with the earth, because we're in love with life. We're in love with the divine, which we see everywhere and in everything. And there's a discipline called spiritual ecology that the resource book that I'm using this week is actually called Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth. And it's important for all of you to know that we aren't the only ones that are coming from this place of understanding that the sacred, which means our connection with the divine or our being a part or an expression of the divine, is held as a principle in this huge movement that's taking place on the planet called spiritual ecology. It's not just a few people or disciplines here and there. There are people from all of the world traditions that are on board with this, that get this bigger picture of oneness. And then in addition to that, I saw a video clip that was a presentation at a conference. And the man who was presenting, it was a huge group of people, was showing on the screen all of the organizations across the planet that are dedicated to this transforming the inner and then bringing that into our practices in the outer to create greater sustainability and to restore the planet. In fact, the whole entire Parliament of World's Religions is dedicated to this, and now the United Nations is declaring the next 10 years as a time for restoration of the planet, a real focus on that. I don't know if any of you saw the debates for the Democratic Party, but what was the topic? It was climate. It was climate change. The interest is building, and there is a great awakening that I see happening. What I wanted to tell you about the man who was giving the presentation, he started running across the screen, down the screen, all of the organizations that are dedicated to this. He calls it a grassroots movement all over the planet, in all nations. And he started running the names of the organizations that are involved in this. And as he's talking, they're running by, and he said, well, we better speed it up because there are thousands and thousands of them. So they just sped it up, and so you just saw this one big zooming thing and it was still going, even as he was finishing up his message. So it's important for us to understand we're not alone, and that there are many, many other people who are waking up. I saw that when we were visiting South Africa and Botswana and Zimbabwe and Zambia, these countries that are in the southern part of Africa. I saw the awakening and the awareness of the importance of the environment and supporting the animals and reestablishing, helping these animals that have been endangered to get reestablished in their environments and to grow and to expand. There are beautiful, wide open hearts, people all over the planet. So just know that as I'm talking today, we're joining with many, many others in our deep desires for the renewal and the restoration of the planet. So spiritual ecologists concur then that what is included is a spiritual awareness and an attitude of responsibility. This is inner work. And they say this includes recognition of creation as sacred, plus behaviors that honor that sacredness. So it comes from an attitude. If we go about it in fear, it's going to have an energy that's not going to serve us or serve the planet. It's coming from an energy of love, loving the planet, being in love with planet Earth and all of its inhabitants. It is really going to make the difference and is making a difference. I love what Eleanor O'Hanlon said in the book Spiritual Ecology, which, by the way, is a series of essays that were collated by a man who's a Sufi, but it's from people from all different spiritual traditions. And so Eleanor O'Hanlon said, the sacred is inherent in the very essence of life and the multiple expressions of its arising. So here's the thing. This is how we cultivate sacredness. The Sacred Heart is maybe what we've heard before. Sacredness is the radiant expansion of the heart, the devotion to life that rises in the contemplation of the One manifesting through all creation. It's seeing with our own divine eyes that everything is divine. Everything. Everything. The chair that you're sitting on is made out of divine energy, right? This building. So it's really important that we take it to the next level. And we can learn so much from our indigenous brothers and sisters because they do see creation as sacred. And for them, everything is alive and has spirit and is connected into the web of life. So they speak to the spirit in the trees, and they speak to the spirit in the rocks and in the waters and the rivers. in all of the animals and the birds and the insects, and in the plants, because they realize that everything is divine, everything is connected, everything has a soul. There's a soul to everything. And they speak to Mother Earth as a sacred being. And their ceremonies, think about their ceremonies. They're drumming, they're dancing, they're singing. And these ceremonies are dedicated to the spirit of gratitude, gratefulness, thanksgiving for all that is provided by the Spirit. So they cultivate in themselves this sense of the beautiful connection of the web of life, the sacredness, the sacred. And then they listen and they learn from nature. They hear the whispers of nature and of spirit. There's a story that Mark Nepo tells of a time that he went into a Santa Fe forest where the aspens live. And these aspens just cover a great expanse of the area. And here's the really cool thing, is that as he and his friend were watching the winds blow through the aspens, you know how their leaves quiver and quake, I guess is what they call it. It's so beautiful. He could sense the oneness of it, and there's these individual trunks and everything. And yet, what do we know about aspens is that underground, it's one living organism. They are all coming out of the same root system, one living organism. And yet, the diversity of all the individual trunks that come up out of the forest. And then his friend remarked on, well, isn't this the truth of all life? There's really one living organism, and we and the plants and the animals and all of that are like these beautiful expressions or a community of the one. And so I love how our indigenous brothers and sisters call everything a brother and sister. You know, the deer and the antelope and the the buffalo are all their brothers and sisters. And you see how this kind of awareness cultivates what within us? A sense of connection and a sense of love. Love for everything and everyone. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, when we recognize the virtues, the talent, the beauty of Mother Earth, something is born in us. A deep connection, the presence of love. That is the meaning of love, to be at one. To be at one. So it's this kind of love that we're talking about is much bigger than many of us have been taught about love. It's a sense of connection, and then from that connection, we will do anything to benefit the earth, and the earth will do anything to benefit our well-being. Can you feel that? I want to share a story of a man in India. His name is Jadav Payeng. And 40 years ago, this man looked upon a landscape in India that was devastated by erosion. Devastated. However, he looked at that landscape and he caught a vision. These are his own words. He said, "Nature is God. It gives me inspiration. It gives me power. As long as it survives, I survive." He understood the interconnection of life. And so what did he do? He began planting a tree every single day 40 years ago. And now the product of that is a forest that is 1,360 acres and counting, because he keeps planting new ones every day. Every day! Can you imagine the dedication? So this particular forest now is the home of hundreds of elephants and rhinos and reptiles and birds and insects and all of the abundance of life that is in that area because of this one man's love of the planet, his understanding of the connection and something that he could do, an inspiration that he received that made a huge difference, an understanding that all is sacred. There's another story that I want to tell you. It's in the town of Kwinana, Australia. And in 2018, the mayor and the town leaders who love their reserve called Henley Reserve decided they needed to do something about all the trash that was coming through the drains. So they put these nets, drainage nets, on the drains, and in 4 months collected around 850 pounds of trash. Now, of course, the ideal would be to educate people so they don't do it in the first place. But in the meantime, it is inspiration like this that makes a difference. That makes a difference. There are so many stories like this. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I just wanted to share a couple with you. But there are things like this going on all over the planet. Let's feel into that. Let's give thanks for that. Give thanks for the people that are making a difference. And you know, we can increase our sense of the sacred by spending time in nature, taking walks, being out in nature, enjoying the beauty of the planet, allowing ourselves to feel. It's not just an intellectual thing, but dropping down into the heart and feeling the beauty and the love that we have for this amazing place that we call our own. I often remember what it must have been like for the astronauts when they first were on the moon and looked back and saw our beautiful planet just balanced in the sky and realized the oneness and the beauty of our beloved home that we call Mother Earth. It's amazing. So here's some of the work that's going on, of the things that we can do. And we know this, but I just love to share the research that comes from other spiritual traditions. This is Sandra Ingerman, the quote that was read by Jennifer. Sandra Ingerman practices shamanism, and her intention is to heal the earth. That's what her practice is for. And you know, shamanism, as I said before, teaches, like we do in Science of Mind, that in order to change the world, we must change our inner world. So, you know, she affirms, just as we do, the importance of daily spiritual practice, of living the principles and the practices, how essential that is. And also the importance of transforming fear, because fear, we know, generates hate and war. And to transform the belief in scarcity, because we know scarcity is what keeps people locked in fear, and it prevents their ability to access creative ideas. And then that's what happens. So as we begin to learn what we are in truth, light and love, light and love, light and love, and come from that place, we begin in that idea of oneness. We begin to experience light and love and abundance in our lives. It's important for us to let go of the idea that there is something wrong with abundance. There's still so many who are caught up in the idea that, oh, you know, I shouldn't be praying for that. I really should just stay focused on love. Well, actually, love and abundance and oneness are all the same thing. They're all the same thing. It's recognizing the oneness and the ever-giving nature of the divine, and our ability to also be that outlet of the giving, the inlet and the outlet. So Sandra Ingerman and, has done a series of experiments. about the power of love, using the power of love and light in the environment. And one of the experiments that she does is, or that she has done, particularly in her early days, is to use a group who focus on spiritual perfection. That's what we do when we do spiritual mind treatment, right? Focuses on spiritual perfection, wholeness, oneness, love and light. And what happens then is they've been able to take photography. There's a special camera that photographs the aura and can see the changes in the aura. And what they notice is when they begin to remember who they are, to unify with the one, the all that is, know that they are love and light, whole, perfect, and complete. And then when they have a subject in the center, and it could be just a glass of acidic water, they do the test of the water at pH ahead of time, and then they all focus love and light and know the perfection of the water or the perfection of the person. She's done it with all different kinds of situations. That there is a change. There's the acidic water moves back to neutral after the prayer, or the person, they can see light activated in the people who are changing their consciousness, aligning with truth, and then they see the light corresponding mirrors back in the subject, and all are benefited by it. Now, we know this. Those of us who've been part of the Power of Eight, or those of us who are practitioners, understand that this is how it works, that everyone benefits when you focus on the spiritual truth. And it activates that truth in the giver and the receiver. Actually, we're all receiving and giving at the same time. That's the beauty of oneness, of understanding oneness. So her work has shown this to be true. And it's not only her work, it's the work of others who have seen that the energy of light and love transforms matter, brings forth the perfect pattern that's already there into manifestation. So healings and purification of water and purification of the air. Do you see what I'm getting at now? This is where our true power is. It's about becoming, not doing. Or we can say the doing is in transforming our consciousness and letting our actions come from that place.
Yeah.
All right, so let's turn within. And knowing that right here and right now in this moment, that all there is one life, one power, one presence, one source, which is God, which is infinite love, which is absolute light. And that presence and that power is who we are. There's no separation. There's never been a separation. And so right in this moment, we acknowledge that truth of oneness, that we are whole, perfect, and complete. We are the light of the world. We are the love of the world. And from that place, we envision a planet that is the presence of that love and light in form. Pure and clean waters all over the planet. Pure and clean air everywhere. And the dawning of humanity, of who we are in truth. I know that right here and right now, from that place of illumination, we now place our attention on the Bahamas, knowing that we are bringing the light, the healing power of light and love to that entire community. We are uplifting each and every one of them in the light and in the love, knowing that resources, support of every kind is arriving, and they are all carried to their divine, perfect new homes and embraced in love and light wherever they go. I know that a major good comes from this. The awakening of humanity to our connection with one another. An embrace, a huge embrace for our brothers and sisters in the Bahamas. And I know that each one of us, the activation of love within us, carries forward and stretches out across the planet and goes to any place where it's needed, where love and light is needed. And I'm just so grateful and so full of appreciation for everyone in this room, for the eagerness that we each have to be the difference in the world, knowing that we are ever becoming, we are ever unfolding as the light and love that we are, moment by moment, day by day, that we are rooted in the Spirit, we are rooted in the awareness of the sacred. And for this, I give my thanks. I release this word into the universal law of mind, and I invite us all to embrace this truth, the demonstration of this word, with a vibrant yes, and so it is.